Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. It is a Friday, Freestyle Friday here at Soccer Down Here. John here, you there. And there's a lot of stuff to get into this morning. Good morning, Alex. Hope you are well. Morning, Ricky. Happy Friday. It is a happy match day Friday where Red Bulls come to town, and we'll go over that, whatever else is on your mind leading into that match. Hour number 2's weekend whip around, and we'll go over everything in Major League Soccer. We'll have that. That's part of everything. Yes, Ricky, it is Friday. You are absolutely correct. And I'm sure that Jason and a lot of folks are glad that I got that out of the way early. Shout out to everybody down at McIntosh last night. And it was great to see the battle for the troops with Jason and myself calling the matches, with Stars Mill taking on McIntosh. First time that I've ever seen a 9-plane flyover. A bunch of stunt pilots that are there. And you had nine planes with stunt pilots flying over the field at McIntosh Stadium last night. Very, very cool. And salute to the troops. They raised $4,000, almost $4,000 for the local charity, the Wear Blue Run to Remember. And very, very cool stuff there. So sweep for McIntosh, the number one team in the country on the men's side. And it was great to be down there to see all of that stuff. Great to catch up with folks. So very, very cool. And we will be doing playoff soccer on the network when the brackets are full, which is probably going to be figured out or maybe in a week or so. Then we'll have a better idea as to where things are, because you still have the private schools that are still finishing up their season, and there's still some makeup matches that'll happen next week as well. So for the week or so, we're going to keep an eye on things, and then when we know the brackets, then we'll figure them out, and then we'll be heading toward everything that's going on with the playoffs in the GHSA. And it's been really cool once again to do high school soccer here on the network, and we'll be keeping an eye on that as we go. So the rundown for today, traditionally scheduled, we always have our buddies from Beyond Goals Mentoring, and it looks like Michael Parkhurst will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. So Beyond Goals will be a Cap catching up with us at the bottom of the hour. So that'll be fun, and it'll be a blast to catch up with Cap on a couple of different topics. And it's so that probably on the field frustration, off the field frustration, taking things that don't go in your favor and turning them around and using them as positives, things like that. So we'll get into that with Cap at the bottom of the hour, and then 10 o'clock is Weekend Whip Around, and patent pending, trademark coming, hopefully probably sooner rather than later. We've got our standard news of the morning, and if there's anything else that's a carryover from anything else that we had yesterday, bring that to the table. I do have our QOD, and it is somewhat self-related. So I don't know how many of you, and I guess this technically is opening kickoff. It's opening kickoff, and I guess technically it's also a QOD. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And you can use the code Soccer Down Here 15. We recommend that because you get 15% off your purchase from our friends at Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So don't know how many of you follow me on Twitter. I mean, on not Twitter, but Facebook. The boss this morning relayed a very important anniversary in our lives this morning. And it is our 14th anniversary of dating. We've been married for over 10, but today is what we call the FDA, the first date anniversary, 14 years ago. So technically it's FDA XIV for those of you that believe in Roman numerals. So today is the FDA XIV, first date anniversary 14 for me and the boss. And admittedly, when we met, it took me a couple of weeks to come around and actually have the courage to go out on a date. So my question this morning, since it is my first date anniversary, do you remember, for those of you who are attached or in a relationship of any length or form, do you remember your first date and your first date anniversary and what you did and how it carries through? So the QOD, opening kickoff, is first dates. Do you remember what your first date was with the boss, with the better half of your relationship? What was it? And where'd you guys go? Because we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do tonight for the celebration of first date anniversary. But what was your first date with the individual that is with you in relationship? For those of you that remember these kinds of things, and we have to remember these kinds of things, because if we don't, we get in trouble. So, first dates. What was the first date with the individual that you are currently in relationship with now? What do you remember about it? So that's the question this morning when it comes to the opening kickoff. QOD is first dates. So I'll have that as a part of the discussion as well this morning. So first date anniversary for me, what was yours? I'm going to go ahead and answer in the Twitch pitch and let everybody know what's going on in your relationships with your better half and your boss. So that's a QOD. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And don't forget to use the code soccer down here 15. You get 15% off your purchase with everything at Kickoff Coffee. They in turn take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And now, this morning, before we get into like Major League Soccer and things like that, Pep Guardiola is kind of holding out hope. He ain't saying nothing. He ain't saying nothing about Erling Haaland. Right now, he's kind of holding out hope that he will have Haaland available for the Liverpool match this weekend. And that is, it's going to be that's going to be one of the big storylines of the weekend. A, is Erling Haaland going to play? And B, it's basically it's an if, and then if he's healthy enough, how long does he play? Do you try to figure out ways to make sure that he's just as impactful, even if he's not 100%? Try to figure out what's going on. And folks, we're doing the law of averages. Erling Haaland would finish the Premier League season on 39 goals if he keeps his current strike rate and game time, and would extend that to 41 if he played every minute. Golden Boot record is 34 by Andy Cole and Alan Shearer, and this is like a 30-year-old record. But those were also achieved in 42-game seasons. So this is like, this is like, Hank Aaron and Maris and McGuire and all that kind of stuff. So shortened season, and you're getting more home runs. So right now, projected 39, could be 41, records 34, but those were in seasons that had 4 more matches about 30 years ago. In all comps, Haaland would register 60 goals this term if he keeps his ratios and reaches finals in all remaining club competitions, or 66 if he was never substituted. 66. And yes, he is a part of my fantasy team, by the way. And he's been captained every single blanking week that he's been a part of the process. 66 goals. And remember, there was all that talk. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Can Erling Haaland handle the Premier League? Yeah, I think it's safe to say that he's been handling the Premier League pretty well. So, yeah, 66 goals. He's never substituted, reaching the finals in all club competitions as they chase the treble. 22-year-old that only scored twice in 8 matches leading up to late January. Penalty at Crystal Palace, 5 goals over RB Leipzig in the 7-0 win, hat trick against Burnley in the FA Cup. By the way, Burnley. News out of Burnley, and once again, this is the 3-letter paper, so once again, take the information at your own peril. A shock Spurs candidate, they're saying the 3-letter paper is anyway, that it's Vincent Kompany. Vincent Kompany, who Pep Guardiola has said it is, I forget the phraseology, but it was ordained basically that someday Vincent Kompany will take over for him or will be the coach at Manchester City. The 3-letter paper is saying Vincent Kompany is your shock candidate to take over at Spurs. So once again, you're looking at that. Holland was supposed to be within the national team this past week, withdrew from the squad, but after picking up the groin injury against Burnley. Touch and go, according to his father, Alf Inge Haaland, for Manchester City and Liverpool. And there's a story with our friends at Sky, and they break down how Haaland has scored all of his goals. 28 and 26 Premier League matches, and he's 4 hat tricks, Crystal Palace, Forest, Man United, Wolves. Right now, Haaland, Kane, and Toney. Ivan Toney's got 16 goals. Marcus Rashford's got 14. Ivan Toney's third. Harry Kane is second at 21. Erling Haaland has 28. A full 7, 1/3 more than Harry Kane. 1.19 goals per 90 minutes. That's a top ratio in Europe, more potent than any other player in Europe's top leagues this season for folks who have played in excess of 504 minutes. Wissam Ben Yedder's at 1.04. Everybody else is under a goal a match. And then you have XG plots and things like that. Heat maps. And the funny thing is, the heat map is in between the top of the 18 and the 6. You see this big red dot. And then center circle from all the time that he has scored. How's that for irony? 28. First in the Premier League goals scored. First in Premier League ranking XG at 20.14. Second shots on target at 44. Fourth in touches in the opposition box at 176. And 241st in touches with 623. Rankings factoring all positions. 44 shots on target, 28 goals. Current goal haul equates to 1.1 goal for every 1.6 shots on target. 28 goals, 44 shots. 1 goal for every 1.6 on target. So the key to stopping him, good luck. Just good luck on that. That's all I'm saying. Compared with strikers in the top league this season, you've got charts, you've got graphics. 25 starts, 9 times he's been subbed off. Passing charts. Have City changed to accommodate Haaland? Graphic shows how Haaland has been accommodated to, allegedly, probably. Goals per 90. Seasonal stats for Erling Haaland. Slightly higher than what it was in the Bundesliga back in 1920. 1.1, 1.01, 1.3, and now 1.19. So slightly higher. Manchester City's style, they've actually scored less goals. Their XG is less by almost a half a goal, 2.11 to 2.6. And this is this year to last year. Shots on target, 1 shot less. Crosses attempted, 1.7 crosses less. Through balls attempted, you're looking at like 10% less year to year. So, it's really interesting to see. The numbers laid out. But Erling Haaland being held out hope that he will be a part of the activity for Manchester City this weekend as they go up against Liverpool. And thank you guys for humoring me with the QOD. So Ricky went to the Starlight Drive-In. Moreland Avenue, Starlight Drive-In. Saw Guardians of the Galaxy in your now wife's Mustang. 8.5 years later, still together. Mazel tov. Yes, Alex, I did mention a pair of Newcastle legends, and Andy never wanted to leave Newcastle for Manchester United. OG, never really dated, so I don't remember our first date. Remember when we first met, worked together, we're friends, hung out, coached soccer together, called me his little buddy. 38 years later, good for you, OG. 38 years, that's tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. 38 years. So, yes, the boss and I are chasing everybody. We are at 10 years married and 14 years dating as of today. And what did we do for our first date? Oh, yes, Fox Sports Grill. Atlantic Station, it no longer exists. And we went there, and dinner turned into a 3-hour date. And so that's how it was for us. Fox Sports Grill, I think we shut the place down, actually, because of all the time we were spending there. And literally, we just kind of started talking and didn't stop talking. So, yeah, and dinner turned into a 3-hour date and saw each other 2 days later. And, yep, I know. Fox Sports Grill, you had to go there, and you had to figure out when you were going. But, yeah, it was wild. It's just like it was there, and then it wasn't. But, yeah, Fox Sports Grill, Atlantic Station, that was where we had our first that was where we had our first date. There was a lot of tournaments going, there's a lot of tournament stuff going on, a lot of baseball going on, those kinds of things, and all those monitors. Alex, like Jill, you never really dated. Met in 7th grade. Got together a few days after high school graduation. Been together for 26 years. Married 22. Strong. That is strong, Alex. Nicely done. Ricky, yes. If it turned into Bally Sports Grill, it would be disappearing too. Yeah. Let's see. So if it was turning into Bally Sports Grill, then they would have tried to overcharge you for some menu items. And it would be like a select menu that you could only order if you wanted to pay more than normal. They'd have like the normal menu that you could have, and then there'd be like the third menu page where you'd have to pay more. You'd get access to everything. You'd get access to more in the restaurant, but you'd have to pay more. And it's not something that everybody would have access to. You'd have to pay more to have access to like that third page of the menu. And allegedly it would be for everything that they have there in the restaurant, but you'd have to pay an astronomical fee for that kind of stuff if you were at Bally Sports Grill. 4-card, 2 dates, 3 months long distance, now married 11 years. Salud. Like I said, the boss and I just cleared 10 in January. So basically we're at like 10 years and 2.5 months. So that's where we are. But yes, the QOD for the morning. Do you remember your first date, and where was it, considering today is the 14th first date anniversary for me and the boss? So that's your QOD. Also going on this weekend in the Premier League, since we're there, and we can talk about it. Let you know that Premier League, Man City, Liverpool. And the thing is, Man City, Liverpool, that's your kickoff for the weekend. We have to get up early on Saturday morning. No, thank you. Now, we got Atlanta United and Red Bulls to think about. We got all the MLS matches. By the way, no early kickoffs this week. So it is all straight up Apple for all the matches on for Major League Soccer and MLS Season Pass. And don't forget the 2s are at the Fraction on Sunday night with Red Bulls 2. So keep an eye out on your social media for broadcast plans there. But also in the Prem, Arsenal leads, and it's Saturday, Sunday. Do we have Monday Night Football? Yes, we do. We've got 7 on Saturday. Arsenal leads, Arsenal big favorite. Bournemouth, Fulham, Bournemouth favored. Brighton, Brentford, Brighton favored at the Amex. Crystal Palace, Leicester. Crystal Palace slightly favored at home at Selhurst Park. They need points bad because of the gap, the gaggle that we'll talk about here in a second. Nottingham Forest and Wolves. That's an interesting one. Wolves are favored, traveling to City Ground. Chelsea and Villa. Chelsea, big favorite. That's your Saturday. Sunday, West Ham, Southampton. And West Ham is favored. Minus side. They're at a minus 130 in the relegation fight. Southampton's almost a plus 400. Newcastle hosting Manchester United. Alex, I know you are thrilled. Can't wait for that one. It's the late game on Sunday at 11:30. Newcastle, Manchester United. Newcastle favored at a plus 137. Monday Night Football, Everton and Spurs. And Spurs are a favorite at a minus 122. And we mentioned what's been going on with Everton. There's Everton news, and then there's other news in the Premier League real quick. We talked about it yesterday on Thursdays with Nico leading into Nico's conversation, but we'll get into it in just a sec. It looks like the construction of Everton's new 52-888, that's the seats, months behind schedule, according to analysts. Documents filed by Everton as part of the stadium's public planning submissions, combined with the club's latest published drone footage of the construction site, indicate the project is at least 3 months late, according to experts in stadium construction. 3-month delay to the overall project would mean the new ground would not be ready for the start of the 24-25 season, which is what the club has been saying. Planning documents imply the stadium should be completed by July of 24, when successful test events would have been to be held before the stadium can host a competitive match. Any delays will increase the cost of the project, which the club says stands at about £760 million. Hold up is and this is from our friends at The Guardian. This is their words from Simon Goodley. Hold up is the latest in a long line of setbacks. And Everton have been seeking finance to complete the stadium for more than 3 years. Everton are contesting the Premier League charges about alleged breaches in FFP regulations, forced to defend themselves against questions over ownership, finances, and governance. Construction experts who've worked on similar-sized stadium projects say the evidence suggested the project was running at least 3 months late. Once you start getting problems, it gets worse. Stadium project at Bramley Moor Dock nearing the end of week 85 of 150 scheduled. Drawings submitted as part of the planning process illustrate by week 75 the whole upper terrace of the east and west stand should have been in place, and that the installation of the roof structure would have been completed. Drone footage showed the upper west stand terrace still to be completed, steel work yet to be installed. So that's where Everton is right now. Yesterday, we didn't get the chance to talk about it because it came up after the show went off the air. Newcastle and Manchester United fans are together to condemn sports washing. The Premier League approved the Newcastle takeover after saying it received legally binding assurances the Saudi state would not have control of the club. Chief executive of the Prem, Richard Masters, said he could not comment on whether Newcastle's links with Saudi Arabia were being reinvestigated in light of the LIV court case that is here in the States. And a brief filed on the behalf in case of PGA Tour and LIV describes PIF as, quote, a sovereign instrumentality of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Newcastle's chairman, Yasser Al-Rumayyan, as a sitting minister of the Saudi government. And now also the Premier League is saying that if you're not on the up and up, the Premier League is going to block owners guilty of human rights abuses under the new rules. They've been approved by top flight clubs. Tougher measures for the owners and directors test that would bar anyone found to have committed human rights abuses from owning a club, including a number of new disqualifying events. Human rights abusers based on the global human rights sanctions regulations and people subjected to government sanctions will not be allowed to become owners or directors. And the list of criminal offenses that would result in disqualification has been widened to include violence, fraud, corruption, tax evasion, and hate crimes. We got a dude, and that's the official term. He's a dude. He's coming up. And so we're gonna try technology here and make sure that I don't completely screw things up as we bring dude in at the bottom of the hour. It is Dude.
What is up, my fellow dude?
Tap. It is good to see you. Michael Parkhurst hanging out with the Friday Free Kick and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. I've got a bunch of different questions, obviously, about soccer, but considering that's what the show is. But the first question I had today, and it's a question having to do with anniversaries. Today, and the boss, for those that follow her and me on the Facebooks, she posted that today is our 14th anniversary of our first date. And so we've been married. We just cleared 10. So we're 10 years, 2.5 months. So today is our first date anniversary 14 years ago. Do you, sir, this is the QOD, the question of the day. Do you remember your first date with the boss? Where you went, what you did? Do you remember your first date and when it was?
It's funny you asked that, John, because the quick answer is no.
Wow.
But my wife also likes to celebrate the anniversary of our dating. And so I do know the date is March 22nd, which we just passed. And then honestly, I don't think she remembers because we were talking about it just the other day. I was like, do you remember where we went the first time? I was like, I don't know. Both in college, so it's probably like Wendy's or something.
Wow. So how long have the two of you been together with dating and marriage?
Marriage has been 15 years.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, and dating 20.
Ow.
Goodness gracious. Is that right?
Man, good work.
Yeah.
Yeah, today, like I said, the boss posted that on all of the social medias, and I was trying to ask everyone what their first dates were and what they remembered. So that was why I felt compelled to bring you into this conversation.
Yeah.
So we can commiserate on all these kinds of things.
I hear you. It's funny. We struggle to remember our wedding date, both of them actually, because we got married in Aruba, a destination wedding, and we always forget if it's the 28th or the 29th of December. I think that it's just a blur. We were in an all-inclusive place with a lot of friends, and the whole time was a blur. A very good time, but a blur nonetheless. And so our actual wedding certificate date, is like sometime in October because we had to go get the certificate before we got married. And that was just procedurally. And so I don't even remember that date.
Well, for us, we kind of turned it into one of those mnemonic devices, 1, 12, 13. Because 1 plus 12 equals 13.
Nice.
And so we lucked out in that. So that's something that I can't forget. Otherwise, I'm in serious trouble when it comes to these kinds of things. And Alex Pacine, who's in the Twitch pitch, says that you need one of those live, laugh, love hokey signs with your relationship milestone date. That's how he and his wife roll.
Nice. Yeah, that would be helpful. Thankfully, though, we've been together long enough. My wife doesn't really expect me to remember or do anything. She gets herself flowers so that, she's beyond the point of expecting me to remember, and also, which is great. It's a win-win, right?
It's an absolution of remembering things, and it's like, oh, you forgot. No, I didn't forget. It was a universal forgetting.
I knew she was going to buy herself flowers, so I didn't need to do it.
Folks are saying that you cracked the code when it comes to anniversaries and remembering these kinds of things. Well done. Everyone is giving you the salam right now.
You have to go through many years of misery to get to that point, though. So,
Wow. All right. So since you used the M word, let's go ahead and talk soccer.
Massacre?
Well, misery was what I was going to use the word misery. So let's go ahead and go there. But we are talking about that match in Columbus. By the way, were you there? Did you see what was going on?
I was there. Brought the kids with me. Yep. So saw it firsthand.
And Your initial thoughts about what happened there at the Death Star.
It was a debacle. Yeah, it was rough to see, and obviously I work a lot with Noah Cobb, and he's getting his first start. I'm sitting right next to his parents, or right, they're there. He made the trip up, and I felt terrible for him because I thought he actually had a decent game, all things considered. Especially in the first half. I thought he was pretty good. So I was just more disappointed for him, right? I mean, when you make your first start, you expect to have a lot of help around you, your center back partner, your outside backs, your D mids, right? A lot of help, and you got no help. I thought Parata was one of the worst players on the field. The midfielder was overrun. It was just, it was a disaster. So they beat us physically, tactically, all over the field, and so that was disappointing to see.
And the Gutman injury, obviously, late in the first half, caused trying to figure things out in that second half. But yeah, there's just everything just ends up going downhill in that second half from a relatively competitive first half. So the mentoring questions that I have for you. In something like this, when was the last time that you were part of a day like Atlanta and Columbus? Was it Houston?
Gosh, Houston that was a rough one. That was the first game of the season. And I didn't start that game. We were down, was it 4-0 at halftime?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. That was rough. That might have been the last one. I can't remember. I've had my fair share of beatings, throughout my career where you take 4 or 5. I don't know if I've ever lost by 6. But those are tough because, it can crack a locker room, finger pointing, and that's a tough one. So from my perspective, it's one of those games that you put behind you and you don't focus too much on it. You understand that the effort and the physicality needs to be better, and the mindset, and then you move past it because you're not going to gain a lot from it. It's just there's too much there. So instead of analyzing it, I think you move forward from those as quickly as possible and focus on the next one.
Well, and then I mean, in a situation like that, I know that being a professional athlete, it's going to stick with you even though you don't want it to stick with you. How difficult or easy is it to sit there and just take a game and just go like this and just, put it in file 13? Does that take time to learn that mindset, or is it something that you just kind of sit there and immediately can flush? I mean, what's the learning process in putting something like that behind you?
Yeah, it's more difficult for sure for some guys than others. I think that some of it is, what position you play on the field, how personally responsible you felt. Probably for the defenders, it's going to be a little bit tougher to put behind you than the other guys. Noah probably one of the tougher ones just because it's your first game, and you take that and you think, what could I have done differently? And I'm not sure he could have done much differently on most of the goals. But that's a skill that you learn over time, right? Of how to let some things go, where to focus, what not to focus on, and that could be challenging for sure.
Is that a generational thing? Is it where folks who are, I guess, my age, who were born in the late 1780s, can process it and throw it away, or is it something that's more universal? Do younger generations discard those kinds of events better than older generations? Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z. Have you seen any kind of correlation one way or the other?
Yeah, I don't think it's generational because I think that even since I was a young pro, right, it was difficult sometimes to fall asleep after games. You're focusing on those couple little mistakes, and they stay with you. And sometimes that leads to dips in confidence the next week. And you're thinking about some of those mistakes going into the next game of like, okay, let me learn from this. Don't make the same mistake. But then, it's kind of in the back of your head, and these moments come up, especially like if you're giving up goals on crosses, right? And then like the ball goes wide in a game and you're thinking, okay, don't get beat again. Like, okay, let me think real quick about, what I did last time, right? Where I need to be. And sometimes you start to overthink things rather than just going with, natural instincts. But that's, I think, generationally, I think that's just sports in general. Young, old, I think we all go through it. I mean, again, with the more experience, you learn how to deal with those things and how to put them away.
When it came to overthinking, was there a moment for you where it just kind of processed through and you stopped overthinking, or was it more of a process? It's like, okay, I've been through these kinds of things. I'm just going to not let things get to me. I'm just going to let things flow more naturally. Was there a moment where it just kind of clicked for you, or was it more of a gradual process?
Yeah, I think it took time. It took time to have the confidence of like, and I think early on in my career, it was like, especially the position I played, it just felt like I was letting the team down, right? When I made a mistake and they scored a goal, right? And if it cost us a game, right, it's my fault. Not just that we made a mistake, but that we lost the game or that we tied the game, right? And you start thinking, gosh, we travel all the way to the West Coast. We put in all this effort all week. We put in 90 minutes of running our, tails off. And
You could have used the other word, because I thought that was where you were going.
Running our tail off. And it's like, and I make a mistake and we lose the game,
Yeah.
And so those are the things that take time to learn how to deal with and recover from, and realize that, that one mistake wasn't the end all be all in the game. It was, a mistake, but there were plenty others made, and teammates, usually have your back. Right. And, I think that once I had more success throughout my career, you understand that, guys overlook those things, right? They're not pointing fingers. They understand like mistakes happen and you move on from them faster.
When it comes to lifting up friends, teammates, those kinds of folks in your orbit, obviously having that kind of camaraderie, that kind of family, that kind of friendship is key to this whole process. And when it comes to those kinds of individuals, I know that then there are some times where you might have a teammate who means well. It's like you're saying something and I know you mean well. Might take a little while for me to process what you're trying to say because I'm taking it too personally. How do you not get revved up in that notion of, it's like, I know I made a mistake. It's great that you want to tell me these kinds of things. Don't tell it to me right now. Kind of tell it to me later. Did you have anybody around you in your orbit when you were playing who's like, yeah, I know, just kind of don't talk to me right now. Talk to me later, so it doesn't sound like it's coming out funny?
Yeah, I think that was one of my skills of being able to read those situations. But I think that's also where like leave it on the field. That saying comes in, because when you're out there on the field, you've got a lot of emotions, you got adrenaline pumping, right? And sometimes you don't think clearly, right? And so if a teammate gets on you about something and you just don't want to hear it, right? Sometimes the reaction's not great. And you might be MFing a teammate, and it's not that you hate them and you want to fight them or anything, right? But you've got emotions and you just need to get that stuff out. And so that's why we say, hey, stuff stays on the field. Don't bring it into the locker room, because, leave the emotions out there, and that's less controlled, right? Versus like, okay, now we're in the locker room. Now we're friends again. I've caught my cool. And I think that, guys, and again, that's another thing that takes time, right? Sometimes, guys are more emotional, can bring that into the locker room. And that's when you get confrontations and, things that can hurt a locker room, versus, understanding, hey, they were on the field, like just leave it there. Don't let it boil over type stuff. Because it can be tough to try and take criticism or even advice in if you're not in a mental space to take it. Right. And, that happens a lot.
Yeah, it almost sounds like that at times. It's almost like giving advice or being a mentor. It's almost like a defensive driving course at times, where you have to think for yourself and for everyone else that you could be impacting with your advice. You've got to figure out, okay, I can say this at this point. I can say this at this point. I know that this person can handle this kind of information this way. This person handles it this way. It almost sounds like mentoring is almost like defensive driving at some points.
Yeah, totally. And we tell the players sometimes that the best way to support a teammate sometimes when they've done that is just through actions and non-actions, right? Of like body language stuff. When a teammate makes a mistake, they know you've got your support or not based off of your body language and your reaction to their mistake, right? They have to own their reaction, but you can help with your reaction, right? A teammate makes a mistake, and do you throw your hands up in the air, or do you work your tail off to go get the ball back and tackle somebody? That stuff alone right there is a way of communicating without actually using your voice. And a lot of times within games and sometimes training, that is the best way to communicate, rather than, hey, you should have done this, or look for me right here. Those types of things that can be said afterwards. In the moment, the action is greater.
Yeah, it's verbal versus nonverbal communication, I guess, is probably the best way to talk about it. Where folks, if you don't want to hear it, the guy next to you can show you in different ways that can be just as impactful, and that way you can process the information in a different way instead of being told when you may not want to hear it.
Totally. And like with everything, there's those fine lines, right? There's definitely times when guys make mistake, and especially if it's not the first time they've made that mistake, that they get laid into. And it needs to happen sometimes, of like, hey, this isn't good enough. There's an expectation to be better, and get your head out of the sand and help us out here. And that happens sometimes, right? That's holding guys responsible, and that's a little bit of leadership, and it's up to those guys to handle it the proper way, which doesn't always happen. But I'm not saying verbalizing things is never the way, because sometimes it needs to be done.
Well, and it's the level that it comes out when it comes to verbalizing, because some folks, I've never thought of you as someone who raises their voice in a situation unless it gets to that point of no return where you feel like you have no other option as a leader. Then that's the way you're going to do things. There are those, and I've always thought of you in this genre, basically, where you're going to be level-headed. You're going to show things in different ways. It's going to be verbal or nonverbal, but you're not going to sit there and turn the hairdryer on unless it is the absolute last option that you can think of in a situation like that. Am I off here?
No. That's just my personality, and trying to be a little bit more level-headed. And there's plenty of guys within every locker room that, like to talk, and, we'll get on guys and be vocal and stuff. And so for me, it was, I don't need to add on to that sometimes. And then, I think guys respected the fact when I was blowing up and I was really yelling at a guy, that it was deserved, and like they were going to pay attention, because it wasn't that often. And so when I did it, I think it came across a little bit more sincere and a little bit stronger than a guy that's constantly doing it, right? You shut that guy out eventually, because you're like, oh, here's this guy just complaining again.
And I'm sitting here and I'm having this picture in my mind of you turning the hairdryer on, and I imagine that the impact is that much more, because, as you say, it's not your MO. And when you get to that point of no return, folks are either going to listen, or, and it can go one of two ways. If someone is genuine and wants to improve and wants to continue to help the team move forward, they will listen, because you've raised your voice to a level that folks aren't used to hearing. Or, that individual may just sit there and go, yeah, he's just blowing off steam, and, I'm going to do whatever. But do you remember the last time as a player that you did have one of those moments where you lit into either a room or a group of individuals in front of everybody, and the impact that it had at the time?
I'm trying to remember. I remember two. One was a little bit smaller, and I laid into Barco one time during, I think it was halftime, because he was complaining I think I had made a mistake that cost us a goal or a chance or something. And, he's complaining in Spanish and stuff. And I laid into him and made sure Leandro translated for him because I wanted to make sure he got what I was saying. And I did that in front of the whole group just to let him know that, don't get on somebody for making a mistake, right? It's that's kind of crazy, especially a young player to a veteran player. But I do specifically remember one time in Denmark, we were playing in Champions League, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, John, but we played against Shakhtar Donetsk in the group stage. We were playing a home game in Copenhagen, and they scored a goal on the ball had gone out of bounds because someone was injured. They were supposed to kick the ball back to us because we had kicked the ball out. So their guy kicked the ball back to us. Their striker ran onto the ball, circled our goalie, and scored. Oh. While all of us were kind of like standing there like, what are you doing? You kicked the ball back to us. Yeah. And so I laid into our team after the game. We went on to lose that game 5-3. And that guy scored a hat trick. That was his first goal of the game, and he scored a hat trick. And I thought that he should have left that game injured. And I know that there's this whole fair play thing, but like we did not put fear into him or do anything. And I thought, at that moment, like you need to play the best game of your life and really show up and really do things differently because the disrespect that we were shown from that team, from UEFA, from the referees, like nothing was done about it. And, we let this guy score a hat trick, and I absolutely laid into the team afterwards. Like I've never have before, just letting them know, like, this performance is just unacceptable. It's embarrassing. We should all be embarrassed. I don't care. We're such a smaller team than Shakhtar. You just can't let that happen. And that was in front of the coaches, in front of the players, everything. And I wasn't the captain.
Well, then what was the response? Not necessarily in the locker room after the fact, but what was the response in the overall where this guy who's not the captain and an American, and I'm sure that there was probably some bias in there to nationality too. What was the response when you stood up and was like, this guy should have been, absolutely blown up for what he did, and your team didn't do it, and you acted that way? What was the response after that?
I had been there a couple of years, so they all knew me and respected me. And I think that, like I said, that wasn't me normally. So I think that everyone kind of took it like, wow, maybe we did mess up here and hopefully learn from it a little bit. I was playing outside back at the time, so I wish I had more of an opportunity to take care of it myself in the game. So I think the response was good. Guys, I think, respected me a little bit more, for coming out and saying what I felt, and I wasn't wrong. And guys knew that.
All right. So from a team that drove you crazy in Champions League to a team that I'm sure drove you crazy here in Major League Soccer, Red Bulls. They are coming to Mercedes-Benz this weekend. When I mention the New York Red Bulls who play in Harrison, New Jersey, what comes to mind?
A dogfight. You have just nonstop, constant pressure. Just like a style of play that is just so different than most of the teams that I played on. Not a style that I particularly like or enjoy, but I do respect the work that they put in and what they do and how committed they are to how they play. But I don't really care for the Red Bulls at all. Their stadium's beautiful. Their fans are terrible. It's just, I got nothing for Red Bull. And I've liked a bunch of the players, like when they were really good, like, Wright Phillips and Sasha Kleshin and Dax McCarty, like good people, Luis in goal. But the team itself, no thanks.
So when you're in a situation like this, and let me take it into the mentoring aspect of all of this, when you're going up against a team that plays a certain way, that you're not playing against every single day, how do you, I imagine that discipline comes up big in situations like this, because it's like, preparing to go up against the spread as a defense, and then all of a sudden you've got a team that runs the triple option or the veer, and you're having to basically almost turn it into assignment football when it comes to what you're supposed to do up against this group. When it comes to dealing with mentees and a situation that they're unfamiliar with, or that they really have to adjust to when it comes to style of play and approach and discipline, how do you have them flip that switch when it comes to being disciplined against a team like Red Bulls, the way they drive you crazy?
Yeah, I think for me, it's knowing it's okay to play different sometimes, right? To do what you have to do to win a game, and not think like you have to stay 100% committed to normal. And I think that's where maybe Atlanta United's made some mistakes against the Red Bull, and with Columbus, we did this as well, right? We love to play out of the back, and we do it against the Red Bull sometimes, right? But sometimes we couldn't. And the benefit to how they play is them doing their press once out of 10 times very good leads to a massive chance, if not a goal.
Right.
Where if Atlanta United breaks the press 9 times, it might lead to one chance. It doesn't necessarily, because you still have to break their other lines and create the chance and whatever. So it's a risk reward thing. So sometimes it's a balance between staying committed to how you play versus, okay, take away their strength, and how do you do that? So I think when I talked to Noah about playing the Red Bulls when he was as an academy player, right. Told him, hey, don't be afraid to play longer in this game specifically, right? It's okay, right? Don't let them play to their strength of continually press, right? Sometimes push the lineup, kick the goal kick long, right? Take away what they do best. So we'll see if that's how Atlanta United approaches it. Doesn't seem like they're going to do that. It seems like they're going to stick to their guns and play out and work through it. And so hopefully it works out. It just hasn't in the past for Atlanta United. I think the only win we've gotten against them was the home game in 2018. And they sat back in that game for some reason. Right. I remember everybody was killing Chris Armas for the tactics of that game. They sat back, and so I don't know. If I was a coach, I'd be saying, let's not play out of it. Let's, GG up top wants to run all day. So get the ball in behind and let them go.
And sit there and have it almost have GG go up top and sit there and have Red Bulls work their way from the back as well. And so not giving them the chance to have that short field and figure out, okay, GG wants it. All right. Feed the man, feed the tank, and we'll see what happens. That's what you're hunting for in this one. If you were on the touchline.
Yeah, totally. And it's crazy when you're playing games like this, you have to study a little bit, because there's certain little aspects that you don't even think of in a game. Right. And like, one is a center back passing to another center back, especially if they're really spread apart. Like the Red Bulls, they like to jump that with their outside winger, right? He'll come and press the center back really hard. So sometimes you can really, put your other center back partner in a bad spot if you don't look at that first, right? They egg you into that pass, and then they press that guy, and then he's coming at you hard, and so then you're tending to just play back to your goalie, and that just sets up their press even more. Against the Red Bulls, it's really important to play forward whenever you can, because that playing sideways or backwards just initiates more press from them.
All right, so where are you going to be watching this match, sir?
I'll be at my house. Yeah, just hanging. Nothing going on this weekend, which is nice. We're coming off spring break right now. So last day of spring break, I guess, and then the weekend. So hanging at the house for this one.
All right. Well, then one question more before you go. How is executive Michael Parkhurst and things going with Rhode Island FC? So hang on. Let me take down my advertisement here so I can show folks once again.
There it is.
Right there. There it is. What's the update now that you've got Kano as your head coach? And I still need to get Kano for an interview. Talk about
it.
There's
right.
Rhode Island FC right there. What's the latest?
Kano's down at GA Cup this weekend, a big tournament down in IMG. All the MLS Next teams, U15, U17 are down there. Atlanta United as well. So one of the biggest tournaments of the year. So he's down there scouting. as we continue to put together a technical staff and outlay budgets and all that stuff. So a lot of stuff that I've never done before and learning on the fly.
At MF Parkhurst, at BG Mentoring, Cap, it's always great to catch up with you, my friend, whether it's about being an executive in a burgeoning business or about how much Red Bulls drive you crazy. Cap, it's always great. We'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Likewise, John. Have a great weekend. And Ricky Ricardo, I like the season pass. It's great. I really enjoy it, actually.
Yep, and I'm a 360 guy. I'm literally turning into a 360 guy. The more that they go to the announcers, the less studio and the more announcers on site, the better off they are. They've learned that, and that's very, very cool. Get out of here. Just go. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you.
Michael Parkhurst hanging out with us. He's a dude, and so it's great to catch up with Cap and find out what about Red Bulls drives him crazy, and apparently it's a lot. So now that we are at the top of the hour, I'm going to take things out of loop and move them down to, I think, what do we say, 13? Is that what we decided on? So 13, hit rock, and read a promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's the Lemonize service, QR code over my left shoulder. For those of you watching on Twitch, a Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. The Lemonize service created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process, makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind to the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever, different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, pull out said masking agent and spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because it masks the odor. It does not attack the problem all the way down to the molecule, like our friends at the Lemonize service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place that you need to go, and it is the website. This is where I grab my pen. Website's lemonize.com, ELIMINIZE.com, but after that, your homework assignment is go /Atlanta, lemonize.com/Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are, asking them to help you with your problems. Lemonize.com/Atlanta. Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Friday. And we got another dude coming up who's used to me saying a certain word, but since I said it in hour number 1, I don't have to say it in hour number 2. It's the day of the week, and it's that guy.
I'm another dude.
You're a dude.
Okay.
You know, we had Michael Parkhurst on before you came on. I said, Michael's a dude. He's a dude, and so you're a dude too.
I'll take being a dude, I guess.
Yep.
That's good company in the dude category, at least.
No doubt. Before we get into Weekend Whip Around with Atlanta United specifically, last night, very, very cool night for the SDH Games of the Week Battle for the Troops with Stars Mill and McIntosh, one of the top teams in the country on the boys' side.
Are you still excited about the 9-plane flyover?
9-plane flyover.
I've never seen anything like that.
Never. I've been at the college football games where you had the stealth bomber. I think it was the All-Star game at the All-Star game at Turner Field, where Galarraga comes to the plate and they've got the stealth bomber, and literally it is right over the field as he's coming to bat, and it's just the noise and everything.
You were very giddy about the flyover.
It's
that's
9
for sure.
planes.
It was 9 planes. It was very cool.
I
didn't have a good look at it from the press box. I did see your video with the planes flying over. Very, very cool. They do it big down in Peachtree City for this game. It's a big game between two county rivals, and they always use it for a great cause, the Battle for the Troops, where they raise money for local organizations. I think they almost raised $4,000 between the two schools for this, which is amazing for a high school game. So very, very cool. 5A versus 4A. I mean, I feel like these two schools especially are like rotating around, either being 5A, 4A, being in the same region, not being in the same region. They're not right now, and it was a friendly rivalry game, but McIntosh got the better of them on both sides.
Yeah, and it has turned into a fatal four-way
This is dangerous
for weekend whip around. So it is Jarrett and Nick hopping in for weekend whip around. We are in very special company with everyone here this morning.
This is scary.
See, the problem here is you've let SOT out during the daytime.
Are you using voice effects, Jarrett? What are you doing?
I'm sick. Leave me alone.
You got a voice box over there.
Like Orson Welles?
Sick.
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
When the flush of a newborn sun first fell upon Eden's green and gold.
You're lucky I'm not reciting all of Saruman's speeches from the Two Towers.
Grief.
No, I've been fighting. I don't think it's allergies. I think it's just the crud. I've been fighting it for half the week.
That's not good.
Oh no, it's not. It's especially not good when you're woken up at like 4 a.m. by a child with a 101 fever.
Also not good.
Oh, yeah.
Jarrett, you must know the cure by now, though, my friend. The cure. Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, that's a huge part of it. But look, it's weapons grade Afrin, okay, and then you go and you get the over the counter Sudafed, right?
But see, I don't ever have allergies. Like that. I could, you could basically like line up a line of pollen on a mirror and I'd be fine.
That's gross.
I'd be fine. It's never bothered me. So
try this azolistine stuff, Jarrett. I'd never had it before, and mine more sinuses, but
yeah.
I had tried it. They have an over-the-counter that I haven't tried. I got a prescription of it, and it has been the best thing I've ever used. It's a nasal spray. It's amazing.
Okay, I appreciate it. I will explore all this.
We're here to talk soccer. We're talking nasal spray now. Woo!
Welcome to the weekend whip around.
Well, you see, John, it's Red Bulls week, so there's only so much soccer to actually talk about.
It's Red Bulls week.
Oh, that a boy. There you
Press.
go.
Oh boy.
Press.
All right. So Nick, since you're the most excited and probably the healthiest of the four of us, go ahead and ask what's on your mind.
Ask what's on my mind?
What's on your mind?
Oh, God.
This is dangerous also.
Caffeine, some legal amphetamines.
Oh.
Look, we have lots of fun going on right now. The big thing is Atlanta United and the energy drinks are going to be participating in some activities this weekend. We have spring break coming up, in which some people who probably really shouldn't be traveling out of state are going to be going down to Panama City and, any of those areas and going and hanging out. Look, the main thing here is that we are going to be watching some press this weekend, and I am thrilled as a connoisseur of all things pressing and counter pressing. It is the most heel philosophy since Catenaccio, and just as Flair went from the Horseman to Evolution, I am on board. I'm the Flair of this particular activity. That's where I am right now.
How disappointed are you going to be, Nick, when the Red Bulls don't actually press as high as you expect in this game?
If the trigger is not based on the keeper or back line, I am going to be extraordinarily disappointed.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. I honestly think like what they've and think back to last year when they came to the Bends.
Yeah,
they were not as ambitious. Maybe is the best word in terms of their press. They were a little more controlled. They have their triggers, and I think they change on the road. Honestly. Like, they're not as wild with it on the road as they are at home. The interesting thing here is, and I mean, if you guys have heard the media from yesterday, it's on the Atlanta United YouTube page, I believe. I think that's posted now with Gonzalo Pineda and Amar Sejdic. They have no fear in playing through this press. They have no fear in trying to play and playing their game and sticking to their identity. What was interesting that stuck with me, and this will be a little thing to watch for, and Nick, you're a pressing nerd, so you'll like this. they don't want to hit those big looping switches that they actually had a lot of success with against Portland. They don't want to put the ball in the air in those moments because that is typically a trigger for the Red Bulls. They want to play it on the ground. They want to play short passes, but fast passes. They don't want to hit those big switches that worked in their last home game. They don't want that in this because they don't want to trigger the Red Bulls press.
Yeah, and that's one thing that whenever we talk about pressing teams, I think a lot of people tend to automatically default to the Almeida, 90 minutes of hell press where,
All right, Jared.
Yeah, and it's like murder the man with the ball. Anyone who's near you, you're moving at 187 miles an hour until you physically drop. Marine Corps boot camp press.
Literally go to the ball, and if that guy doesn't get the ball, next guy goes to the ball. It is everything about. We've still got 5 guys on the field that haven't fallen over yet. Go press and go win the ball back. There's not much of a structure to it.
But what people I don't think realize really with a lot of the pressing teams is that there's a methodology in place that's outside of just high octane chainsaw soccer. It really is, almost to use the term, the Jedi mind trick, right? We're going to press you to oblivion over here, and we're going to make you think that there's one guy that's just open by a miracle, a beam of light from above. This is our one outlet. Let's get the ball to him. And that's what they're waiting on. They're waiting on you to try to get the ball to that person that they've already targeted in their pre-match planning. And the minute you try to get the ball there, that's where the buzzsaw kicks in, and that's where they attack you, put the ball vertical, incisive passing right back on frame.
Sometimes. What's interesting, though, Nick, and this is, I think we're starting to see now that we have different pressing teams in MLS. So, Philly does it differently than Red Bull. St. Louis does it differently. Cincinnati does it differently. And it's not always like we want this guy. We want the ball to go here, and then we're going to press. Sometimes it is that long pass. Sometimes it's that long ball in the air. That's the trigger. Sometimes it is the pass backwards. That's the trigger. You'll see a team kind of keep everything in front of them. Atlanta does this a lot, by the way, in their counter press. When they keep everything in front of them, they just seal it off. And when the ball goes back, it's boom, Araujo is flying in to try to win it back.
Yeah, it's sort of like the cover 2. It's almost like running a cover 2 in soccer, like where it's like we're going to keep everything in front. That's how Tampa Bay used to keep Michael Vick in check. And where a lot of teams would run man coverage and have people turn their back and drop, and Vick could bootleg out and get a lot of yardage. Tampa would point all the eyeballs to the backfield and say, "Yep, we're going to hang back a bit. We're going to shut off all of these short options, and the minute he tries to run, we're just going to it's the horses are off."
And there's so many different ways of doing this, and that's why, like, when we have this conversation about team with the ball, team possession style, team pressing style, it's not just a like, oh, this is all bad or this is all good or whatever.
No.
It's you have to dig into what does this team with the ball want to do? What are they built to do? What is this team that presses without the ball? How do they do it? How are they good at it? How are they dangerous at it? What are they trying to make teams do that they can take advantage of? Which is the same thing, honestly, when you get past that decision. And I always say it like, you're a coach, you're a club, you have to make a decision. Do we want the ball or do we not want the ball? That's number one. But past that, you have to figure out then what you're trying to accentuate when you make that decision. It's like, we want the ball. Okay, what are we trying to do with it? Are we trying to, get it down the flanks, put in crosses because we've got a big number 9 that's good in the air? Are we trying to play, combination play around zone 14? Whatever. Same with the pressing teams. Like, they've got to figure out, okay, we can do this really well. We can kind of trap in the middle third really well. We want to funnel them into a certain area. We want to funnel it against a certain opponent who, let's say, a goalkeeper, very bad with their feet. We want to funnel it back there. Or, which you see some teams do, is that guy's bad with his feet. We want the ball to go there, and we're going to back off.
Yep, that's the Jedi mind trick that we were talking about a minute ago.
It's crazy.
And so, and to your talk about the looping cross, right? That big. What'll happen is that
big switch that go back to the third goal against against who was it? Portland. The third goal where Almada hit the big switch across to Araujo. Araujo hit the big switch back across to Wiley, and they got through. The Red Bulls would have had 3 guys running as the ball is in the air on the Almada to Araujo one to shut that down. That would have triggered chaos. Now, you still could have played through it, but that would have been something they want to force you into.
Right. And because if you see, especially a lot of like the 1.0 Red Bulls style teams, they're not just trying to make it to compress the field into like essentially a 50-50, like, where, they're at the back line is at the half. Yeah. They're essentially trying to make you play in one half. What happens is they would try to actually make you play in like 25% of the field. They would try to compress even down to a corner.
They compress vertically and then they compress horizontally too.
Yep. And so what would happen is that you'd have teams that would start to leave one person out wide as this big switch option. And over time, these pressing teams have become aware of this. And so they, like we said, the triggers, right? That's one of the triggers is that, we have this guy over here. The minute the ball's in the air, it's committed, right? There's no one using the Jedi Force or the Sith technique to move the ball midair. So once the ball's in flight, you know where it's going to go. It allows you to say, okay, 1, 2, 3 people, we're going to go attack in this area. We're either going to attack a space, we're going to attack a man. This is what we're going to be doing. And they will bait you into doing this and try to compress your decision-making period from, 3 to 5 seconds down to like, oh God, now. And the minute you get into an oh God, now moment, that's when they have you. And so, you can work through that. Yeah. You can pass through that. I think that's the big thing. Go back
to what Marsadich said yesterday. I mean, he said something that I think tripped people out when he said it, but he's like, we want to attract the press and then play through it.
Yep.
They want to almost like set false triggers to get the movement started and knowing that they're in control at that moment. You're not in control with the big looping ball because the ball's in the air. You're not in control of it.
Yep.
When you have the ball on the ground and you're able to draw a team to you, then they're moving. You're not. You can pick your passes. The movement has to be there around it to open up that space. But you want the defense to make the first move there. They come at you. And when they're moving, they're going to leave gaps.
Yep.
You've got to exploit those gaps. So it's a fascinating mind game here when you get into this and the chess match of it with Atlanta and Red Bulls. And yes, Atlanta's never beaten them in the regular season. But you go back to last year, the game at the Benz could have gone either way. And the Red Bulls did not press all that much in that one. They got a lead, and they kind of dropped into a little bit more of a mid-block. And in the game up there, with maybe 4 or 5 regular starters for Atlanta United, you go up there and you play Red Bulls off the park for 75 minutes or so of it, and then a couple individual mistakes, and you lose 2-1 after taking the lead. Like, they're really close. And I mean, you can go back through all these games. None of them have been like dramatic blowouts. They've all been really close. And I feel like this Atlanta team, with what we've seen on the totality of 2023, is as equipped as ever to play against this Red Bulls team. But they're coming in off of a very bad loss, but they're coming in with getting guys back. So it's a fascinating storyline setup for this game, which should be a really fun one.
So let's ask this question.
Yes.
Then. How do you structure this back line for this game without an Andrew Gutman, knowing that a Red Bulls team, a lot of times we've seen in the past, that 4-2-2-2-2-2-2, whatever
they're not playing that. Nope. They're not playing that. They if they do, it's a shock because they got away from that after game 2.
Yeah.
They played 4-2-2-2 in preseason. They played it in the first 2 games. They scored 0 goals. They've went to a 4-2-3-1, and they've been a little bit better in the attack. So I would be shocked if they went to 2 up top again. Again, they could. You never know. But they haven't been playing it lately. The back line, the question, you're not going to change the way you play. It's going to be the 4-3-3 that we're accustomed to. But the back line, the question's personnel because of Andrew Gutman being out. And My gut feeling is Ronald Hernandez goes over to the left side. Brooks Lennon could go over to the left side, but I think it's one of those two goes over to the left, even though they're going to be on the opposite side. They're both technical players. They're both good when they're being pressed. They're both good on the ball, and they can get out and run too and open the game up. So that's my feeling is Hernandez over to the left. But you've got McFadden as well as a possibility there. You've got Wiley as a possibility there. I think they'll want to keep Wiley higher up the field where he's been more dangerous and go with Hernandez or McFadden or Lennon on the left.
And I think Lennon on the left it's very intriguing because you have his ability to deliver crosses on the right where the ball is whipping in front of the goal is one thing. But if you put him on the left and he finds space that will develop and those is that they try to compress the field, that there's a ton of space, a ton of real estate in the back that you can find. And if he finds enough real estate to pull off one of those shots, now you have a shot on frame as opposed to cutting across, which is the benefit of having somebody on the wings, a right footer on the left side where you can hook those shots in and then allow somebody like Giacomakis to clean those, to clean up the parry. That is a very intriguing thing that I don't think gets talked about enough if he's on that left-hand side.
Yeah, Hernandez can do that too. And I think both being righties on the left, like there are some things you gain from it. Of course, there's some things that you lose from it, losing a lefty on that side, but you get some things out of it too. And I think the easy conversation in a game like this against a team that's had your number is, fear. How do we deal with this when you have to look at the way that they play as an opportunity at times because they are going to get numbers forward defensively. That means there is going to be space behind. And I really go back to that game against Portland and Giacomakis and the runs he was making in behind as an opportunity here that if the Red Bulls are going to step up high and press, which I don't think they do all that much. I honestly think they'll be more in a mid-block here and pick their spots. But Giacomakis will force them to be honest on that back line because he's going to constantly try to run in behind. All night long, he's going to try to run in behind. And that's going to give Lennon, Hernandez, Robinson, Parata, Ibarra, if it's Hosechu or Sadic as the 8, it's going to give them the opportunity, little bit of pressure, pop it over the top, let Yorgos go chase it, and just open the game up a little bit. Even if he's offside, even if it doesn't come off, it then allows you to counter press. And that's the thing. That's what's so interesting about it is, Atlanta in their counter pressure has been as good as anybody in the league this year. So they're not going to have any problems trying to hit that long ball, which is lower percentage. Doesn't happen. Turn into a counter pressing team against a team that is not as good on the ball.
As much as I love these, go ahead, Jerry.
No, McFadden's an interesting wild card here. Even if he doesn't start, even if he's somebody you bring in later, if he is a part of the game day 19, if for no other reason, his ability in the air, you get into a situation where Red Bull starts trying to punt it down the field. Having somebody like McFadden, who is honestly irrationally good winning that first ball, we know how important the second ball is in these situations as well. But his ability to put that first ball into a good situation might be something you deal with later, especially if you're in a situation. We need another body. We need a fresh set of legs out there. We know they're going to bomb it. We need somebody who's good at getting in the air, and not only that, but good in the air and also good at not committing a foul in the process and giving the Red Bulls a chance to create that set piece deep in the attacking third where they can put it in the mix or just drop it in the 6 and just try and make something weird happen.
Jason, what has the vibe been like after the loss? You've spent some time up at the training ground this week, but what has been the overall vibe after the loss as they've been getting ready for Red Bulls?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to include the clip in March to Match Day, which will hit later this afternoon on 92.9 The Game's YouTube page. Intensity. Caleb Wiley knocking guys over in a session on Tuesday. I think he ended up getting 3 knocked over in about a 30-second moment. It was good, and I asked Gonzalo about it yesterday. Just did he get what he wanted out of the reaction, out of the response on the training pitch? And he was happy with it. It's a weird week just because you didn't have your international guys back on Tuesday. So you had to create an activity that progressed you, but without really getting super tactical, because you had a number of twos guys in the mix that were filling roles because you were down 7 bodies. And that's been the biggest thing over this last week and a half, is just getting, being able to progress tactics. You're maintaining, and you're still also, though, trying to find these little things that can help you prepare for this game. So the Tuesday session was really interesting in that you weren't getting big picture with tactics. You weren't getting into the massive elements of the tactical layout, but you could start to prepare for a game against a Red Bulls kind of team, in that let's create activities where it's a lot of bodies in small space. It is played at a high intensity. So you're getting used to being pressed, essentially, and dealing with that and not having a lot of time on the ball. And I thought they did a really good job of that Tuesday. Just for people who are new and kind of catching up on all this stuff, Tuesdays, the whole session is open to the media, and Thursday we get to see the warm up, essentially, and then talk to people afterwards. So the Tuesday sessions early in the week, it's generally not a heavy tactical session anyway. But this week, because you hadn't had any of your internationals back yet for Tuesday, it was very light on tactics, but more about the preparation from a technical standpoint. But also, I think this was completely by design, the preparation from a little bit of an emotional standpoint, just in terms of being under stress on the field in a team that you're going to have to deal with that, and coming off of the loss against Columbus. So I thought the vibes were good. I thought it was a really good mix of, enjoying the work, but also ramping up the intensity. And that's the balance that you've got to strike. Yesterday, after the main session ended, before media was getting rolling, saw some finishing drills, things like that. Guys were pumped. I think Yorgos would stay out on the field like for hours on end afterwards, taking shots and having people hit crosses into him. He's just an animal when it comes to that stuff. But no, it was good. Getting those big personalities back in the group is a big part of it. And that's the other element of the Columbus game that I think needs to be maybe understood a little bit, is as you're building a chemistry with new faces. And look, Yorgos is a big personality. Derek Etienne's a big personality. These guys take up very important roles on the training pitch, setting the tone in the locker room, in those moments before a game like this, in those moments at halftime when you're down 1-0 and you lose Andrew Gutman to injury. Those big personalities are so important. And when they're not there, and all of them not there at the same time, it changes it. And I thought the second half missed the personalities of those guys as much as anything, especially after conceding that second goal. I mean, that's one where you just got to lock it up and hold on to the ropes and get it figured out as best you can. And they didn't do that. So, getting these guys back, I think, will help. It felt different with those guys around on Thursday. Even from Tuesday, it felt different. But Tuesday was a good response. It was good intensity. When you see Wiley throwing his body around, it's good. It's a good setup, and I like the confidence out of him yesterday. I like the confidence out of Amar and of Gonzalo. Of, we're happy with how we play. We like how we play. This is why we do what we do, and we're not afraid of playing our game against a team like the Red Bulls. And that's the mentality you have to have.
How much longer do we have you, by the way?
I got a few more minutes.
All right. So who's online? Who wants questions? Nick, Jarrett, go. They both wait for the other. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, I think my question going into this match is going to be the fitness level of the guys who are on international duty. Maybe you guys spoke about that earlier. From what you were seeing this week, did it look like they were largely fresh and ready to go? Did you see any guys that looked like they were maybe a bit exhausted from their adventures?
Didn't see anybody on Thursday that looked tired or was held out of stuff. Almada wasn't there on Thursday. He was doing a regen later in the day because he arrived wee hours of the morning Thursday on that overnight flight from Buenos Aires. I mean, I think we need to almost remind people every time that either a guy is coming from Argentina to join Atlanta United or somebody's going on international duty like this, There's one flight from Buenos Aires to Atlanta, and I think it leaves Argentina around 7 or 8 p.m., and it gets here at like 4 or 5 a.m. I mean, it's every time when guys join the club, when fans go to meet them, it's that flight. Like, that's the flight. That's the only flight. So he didn't play on Tuesday. Region yesterday. Going to participate in training today. Gonzalo didn't have any fear about starting him. He was asked about it. He would be the biggest question mark because he was the last one to arrive. Etienne played 45 on Tuesday, played 70 plus in the first game of the break. One of the guys who maybe played the most minutes. Luis Abram is dealing with some paperwork issues with visa, passport. It was a little confusing as to what the actual issue is, but he should be back today was the hope. He might not be available. Miles played 90, didn't play the first game. Miles looked fine yesterday. Hernandez didn't play, and that was one question Gonzalo had, was just, I think, wanting to see where he was fitness-wise, just making sure that everything's good because he traveled long flights and didn't play. Just want to make sure that he's going to be good to go. Is there anybody else I'm forgetting? Yorgos didn't play a ton, especially in the second game. And he was back Wednesday, so he's got another day under his belt of getting ready for this. I think he's fine to go 90 if needed. And I think that's where you're at. Didn't really notice it being an issue or a concern for anybody. Another player coming back from injury, Mateus Hosechu, full participant. And I got the sense that if last week had been a knockout game, I think Hosechu could have started and probably went close to 90. But with it not being being an early regular season game with his injury history, they wanted to take it a little easy for him. That's why he didn't start and he came off the bench. So he should be in contention to start. And I think everybody else is as well. Machope's the only one he was there yesterday, trained. I don't know if he even played. I don't think he played in the second game for South Sudan. I actually don't think that game got played. So he made a long trip for nothing, unfortunately.
Got some good frequent flyer miles out of the deal. That's about
I
it.
hope he did. That's at least getting something out of it.
And broadcast plans, and this is also not the only Red Bulls Atlanta match on the weekend.
Yeah, it's a busy weekend. 92.9 the game. We're back on the game. 7 o'clock, Five Stripes countdown. 7:39 kickoff. That is consistent all year for these 7:30 games. They're actually 7:39s. Full-time report afterwards. You can listen on the Odyssey app. You can listen on the Atlanta United app. You can listen on the home team radio option on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. And then Sunday, you can listen on the SDH network. You can listen soccerdownhere.net. You can listen on the SDH app. You can also listen on the Spreaker app. Just search Soccer Down Here. Atlanta United 2 and New York Red Bulls 2. That's going to be from the Fraction in Kennesaw.
There you go.
I didn't say it. I don't say it like that all the time.
I'm
It's
literally wearing the shirt right now.
What's that?
I'm literally wearing the shirt right now.
Well, nobody can see you, so you could be lying.
You don't want to see me.
No, nobody does.
Dead.
You got a crazy voice box thing going on. It's weird. But that's going to be 7:30 or no, 7 actually on Sunday. And we will be on at 6:45 as we prepare for that one. And Jared, I'm guessing you're not going to be there because you can't drag your voice box to it.
Depends on how quickly I get over this because I feel like I'm on the back end of it because
Oh,
I've been
maybe.
sick for like the last 3 days.
If you show up there and I get sick afterwards, it's going to be worse.
First of all, if I show up anywhere, I'll wear a mask, just out of courtesy. First of all,
thank you.
Second of all, just depends. Anytime someone hands me a microphone at a Twos game, things go pretty well usually, even if it's just a pre-post game.
You better be wearing one of those spacesuits. It better be looking like an Apollo 3 spaceman or something.
Yeah, please. Jeez.
Like the robot from Lost in Space.
Look, I better see a 6'6" spaceman walking through Mercedes-Benz. That's all I'm saying. You
ain't
get
coming
me
to the
coughing
Benz.
after this.
No, you ain't getting into the Benz and doing anything with that. No,
No,
that's not happening. Maybe Sunday if you're alive and not dead.
Yeah,
and,
I'm not risking the Benz like this. Thank you.
Yeah, no. No, you'll risk getting me sick, but not the Benz. Of course, I see how it is.
Oh,
Again, that's like 2 days on from now. We'll see how we're doing.
When are we getting you to a Twos game, Nick, on a microphone?
We just got to work that schedule out. Just let me know. We can make it. I don't know if
schedule
anybody
and
wants to hear me on that, but we can make it happen.
Well, you might have to be there for, I think, one in late April where John can't be there. So
yeah.
All right.
I am in. I'm in Austin, Texas, for a Valentine's / anniversary gift where we're going to a field trip to go see the Lapone.
Well,
in concert. So
look at that.
Hey,
he's fancy.
Yeah. Hey, when the boss finds out that one of her favorite Broadway types is on tour, then that's where we go. So it just so happens we're going to Austin, Texas. We might go and see Jarrett's Quakes and Austin FC at the very small Q2, but we're efforting that. But no.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is it's like the Austin Stadium's the size of like a 4-person Coleman tent. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to get anybody in that thing.
Exactly.
I mean,
No doubt.
It's a civic art type with a supporter section.
Yes.
I'm just saying that's for the fan to the side, and then it's like that, like the one person like halfway sticking out of a box, like screaming and yelling. That's their supporter section. Let me know how that works, but I would be thrilled, delighted, and honored to be to bring a little bit of insanity to a Twos match. I need to get up there. It's been a long time since I've been in that stadium.
Mostly, I just need someone to be in the press box with me, other than Johannes.
What's wrong with Johannes?
Johannes is great, but like it's been like last year it was Mateen and myself. That's pretty much it, except for like 2 or 3 games where other people showed up. Otherwise, it's usually just me and Johannes. I think Ramadi was there once, but otherwise, it's just us catching up.
Yeah,
I don't want him to be alone if I can't be there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, just like don't try to be the outbreak monkey, and I'll be happy to show up and
Some 28 days later caliber stuff.
Yes.
Oh my God. No, I've been watching. I watched all of The Last of Us after I swore I was done with post-apocalyptic zombie type stuff and watched The Last of Us, and now I'm like, do I really need to eat anything with refined flour? The answer is probably not.
Go play the games, because the games are fascinating because they're absolutely brilliant. They're masterpieces in storytelling, and you will not want to play them more than once. You will finish and be like, that was amazing. I never want to endure this again.
No, after episode 3,
I don't need that stress in my life.
No, I can't do it. Oh, you got it.
Mm-hmm. It's good to see you're catching up, John.
Yep, there it is.
Almirante Brown.
Yeah, had that for a couple years, John.
I know. Well, it's finally available at Classic Football Shirts, and so I picked that up the other day.
I got my special connections down in Argentina.
Well, see, this is what's happening right now. Is that Jason again is goading us with his connections down in Argentina to get these special jerseys that he knows that we want, will not provide. It's okay. All right, fantastic. I see how this works.
Absolutely.
Jason. I just want you to know that there will be a day of reckoning, sir. All right, and this is like the old Western.
The day of reckoning is your Italians going in and trying to like sign up every young Argentine player right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Guess which country just won the World Cup? That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Look, this is we are outsourcing
kid in
materials.
The Argentine youth national teams. Italy's coming in like, hey, we found a great grandfather. We can get you citizenship. You won't have to take the test that Tevez was going. Not Tevez. Who was it? Aguero. No,
Aguero.
Who was it who was going to do the Juve test?
No, it's Suarez. It's going to be Suarez.
Suarez.
Yeah, Suarez. He had to pass a. So if you get if there's a couple ways to get Italian citizenship, and one is through Iura Sanguis, which is the right of the blood.
How far back do they go?
They don't care as long as
there's anywhere in the line. Yeah, no wonder you're hitting up every talented 17-year-old in Argentina.
Yes,
right
it's because where most people in America's line gets broken is because the Americans were far more diligent on getting citizenship stuff knocked out because of World War I, World War II, and Argentina was like, yeah, we just don't care. Like, where are you living at? I live along the River Plate. Okay, great. Go post up, have fun. So, yeah, that's why you have so many.
It's a list of like 15 players right now that Italy is trying to recruit.
Yes.
I mean, look, all of Scotland basically
Nick.
claimed McAllister after that World Cup. I'm pretty sure the Italians can claim
Yeah.
Pretty much.
No, well, at least they can't get those guys, but they get Retegui from Tigre, and he scores a goal in his debut against England, and now they're going after all these young guys.
Yes.
There's one of them, I think it's Prestiani, who is from Velez, who is so freaking good. Incredible talent. I think he's 16, 17. They should absolutely be recruiting him. And that's going to be dual national panic in Argentina, Italy on that one.
Well, look, Italy for a long time has neglected the youth system.
Oh, yeah.
And they are so far behind the 8 ball that we have no choice now but to beg, borrow, and steal. And if you look across the board, as my great uncle Arturo said, Italians can take anything and turn it into art. Anything, right? Italians could take a tree, turn it into a car. People would buy it. We could take the most basic ingredients from wherever, turn it into a culinary masterpiece. People will buy it. And we will do the same thing now with the Argentine youth, which is we will take these Argentine youth and port them. And under Italian refinement, they will be just spectacular, wonderful players in Azzurro, just dancing across the field, getting us back to where we need to be. And that would be spectacular.
Or they could just wait and put on the Albiceleste, which is a World Cup winning team right now. Just saying.
Well, here's this thing. Here's this great thing, Jason. I don't know if you're aware of this. This is a shocking new thing that's being put across my desk right now. Four stars.
Do that.
4 stars are more than 3 stars, which is really cool. This thing is 4 stars greater than 3 stars, right? So just come over, all right, and join.
Yeah, weren't 2 of those stars like back before even John was born?
I'm sorry. If the United States had one that was won in like 1903, you guys would be wearing it, pointing to it.
But no, you're trying to throw slander at Argentina, and I'll leave.
I'm not throwing
on the
slander.
Floor. Yeah. Oh no, you did. I will leave this on the floor before I leave.
Yes.
Italy has won 1 World Cup since Argentina's won 2.
Oh.
So
good.
Number of stars, yes, but
it's because you guys had a space alien playing for you.
Couple of them, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Italy
space aliens for a long time.
Yeah, Argentina does pretty well with the space aliens coming in and wearing that number 10 shirt. So you got to do what you got to do. They've each got a World Cup now, but it's fun to see with what's going on with this. There's a lot of young talent coming.
I see David over here.
To World Cup to win the World Cup.
Well, look, you know what? Italians believe in vacations. Okay, all right. We believe in long vacations. We won the Euro at Wembley, and I know some England folks were like, "Ha ha ha! We went to Naples and won in Naples." It's like we walked into your house at Wembley. We stole your prized possession. It's not going home. You're never getting that day back. No matter what you do, you're never getting that day back in life. In life, you're never getting it back. Yes, an 11-year vacation. It's Europe.
Yes.
Italy dies.
It's Europe.
So we can all
just like Italy's never getting the finalissima back.
That's okay. That's okay. that was Diego's day. We salute Diego. He's sort of our stepson. Our beloved stepson, right? A beloved stepson.
He's the neighbor's kid who came from a destroyed home, who just crashed at your house suspiciously for like half a year.
But
you
they
just
like him.
blame him. He's invited to all the Thanksgivings.
Yeah.
He's a wily youngster.
He's Sean Hunter from Boy Meets World.
Yes.
Yeah. And always you just have a place at the table, set and waiting for him. There's no problems. And that's the whole thing, So Diego, as our beloved neighbor's child, I'm okay to lose the finalissima if it means we can keep our 4 and we'll be happy with that. Thank you.
Yo, we won't talk gnocchi. That's fine.
Gnocchi, oh baby, give me some gnocchi, quality gnocchi.
Yeah. But you know what the Italians didn't do? They didn't beat Spain 2-0 the other day.
There you go. Thistles up, baby.
Imagine
I'm leaving.
Imagine having a coach who might not be perfect, but who everyone completely buys into. and you have these players who are playing in England or not being used properly. And
Jared,
you just
how many
put them
wins
in
have
good
Scotland
positions.
had in the last 2 years?
Good
3?
God.
A fair number of them, actually.
Okay,
Jason's
5?
been waiting on this, man.
It's a good win. Don't get me wrong.
What?
But slow down.
It's a huge win, earth-shattering. This is the space program for Scotland.
No. Qualifying for the Euros will be a bigger thing than winning this game.
You clearly do not understand the Scottish mentality, Jason.
I do understand it because Jarrett's screaming about a win in a group stage that's all what it is.
There is a level of parallel between the Scottish mentality and some aspects of Atlanta fanhood because they've been hurt a lot in the past. South Carolina, Scotland.
The petty is just
petty is real. The thing you can't take away from them is the fact that England got relegated out of Nations League into a lower level.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And Scotland took their spot.
That's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
That's beautiful.
The one you can't they'll get over Spain. Spain is that win against Spain is great. They're gonna be able to power this car twice as long just on the knowledge that they took England's spot.
Yeah.
No, for sure. That's huge. Absolutely, for sure.
Yes, qualifying for the next Euro would be absolutely huge, but
that would be bigger.
Jason is trying to get off this call because he's trying to call his Argentine contacts, his Argentine jersey contacts, and say, "Look, guys, I have it on good sources that the Italians they're sending airborne units to come abduct Argentine youth." It's just prepare them, get them ready, and let them know that we're showing up. We are bringing plates of lasagna and risotto, and we're going to be, bringing some other fine, delightful dishes. We will not bring donkey or horse from Sicily. They're not ready for that action. But we can send.
Surprised.
Yeah, they might. Yeah, we just might.
Have you heard of the asado, Nick?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's one thing the Italians do not have.
No, we don't. We don't have the asado.
Yeah, you don't have the asado. So
I can go to
or the
Tuscany and get a
chimichurri.
plate full of peachy, and I'm happy.
There you go. I'm just saying. Look, we are. It's happening. Okay, we are
All
rating.
Right.
We're
I'm going to
rating.
get the word down to my people.
Yeah. Make
All right.
that happen.
Speaking of getting word out, you need to save your voice, sir. You got other stuff to talk about today, Jason?
I've got lots of other things going on today. But be on the lookout. March to Match Day will hit on Off the Woodwork and on the 92.90 Game YouTube page. Along with an interview I caught up with Mo Edu to talk about the game this weekend. So always good to catch up with Mo. All that's hitting on Off the Woodwork. Adios. Bye.
Adios. Bye.
Bye.
Jason is gone, so that means now weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming. For the remainder of the action in Major League Soccer is where we go now. Now, we've got Atlanta United and Red Bulls. Atlanta United is a plus 102. Red Bulls to win are a plus 260, and your draws a plus 252. Nick, what say you?
No, go Jarrett first.
Jarrett, what do you say?
What's the numbers?
Atlanta United to win is a plus 102. Your draw is a plus 252. The Red Bulls listed as from New York, but really from Harrison, New Jersey, are a plus 260.
I'm really tempted to just take Atlanta straight up in this because of a guy like Almada just being that difference maker. I think even without him, it would be a very interesting, fun game, but I think he is operating on a different level of existence. Talking heads can make whatever argument they want with zero logic to it, that he shouldn't be the MVP leader right now. It doesn't mean he wins it because he might not be here all season.
Right.
But he is a difference maker. You have speed to burn on the outside. I think Atlanta gets this done, especially with a guy like Yakomakis who can stretch the back line. And as he's shown in the past, you give him a chance, he can put it away. I think they just execute those moments better in this one, but it is going to be stressful, like a 2-1, nobody's comfortable kind of thing.
All right, Nick.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna take the draw. What's the over? What's the over?
We can go overs if you're looking for those. You've got totals with the varying numbers attached. So we've got, let's see, we'll start at 1.5. 1.5 is a minus 335 in the composite. 2.5 in the composite is a -107. 3.5 is +232.
Ooh. I'll do the. You said it was 3.5 is what?
+232.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Right.
I'm gonna, and I think I think Red Bulls scores 2 really stupid goals early,
Yeah.
and then Atlanta comes back and ties it up.
Okay.
But I think the goals are going to be really dumb for Red Bulls,
Okay.
and they're going to be really spectacular for Atlanta. And Atlanta's going to have more time to operate because Red Bulls will get their big stupid goals out of the way early, sit back, and just get diced. I'm sorry, everyone, but that's just the way I see it. And yes, how many rings you got is very much an SEC as hell argument. Ricky Ricardo, yes, 100%.
The thing is, like, they may have won like 12 straight games against Atlanta in terms of regular season. They've never lost, or not won 12 straight, but they haven't lost a regular season game.
Right.
There is a certain level of snark you can bring to the argument. The only time they didn't win it was arguably the most crippling one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have liked their chances against Portland in that MLS Cup had New York beaten Atlanta in the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right.
It didn't happen.
No. All right. So your others, basically, what we'll do for the remainder of the show is go cliffhanger. If there's a game you want to talk about, just yell stop, and we'll talk about it. 7:30. Crew hosting RSL. Crew's a -125. RSL's a +330. 7:30. Cincinnati hosting Inter Beckham FC. FC Cincinnati's a -161. Inter Miami's basically a +420 in the composite.
I'll take that. I'll take that one. I think Vasquez. There's a lot of transfer rumors surrounding Vasquez right now.
Germany.
And Germany. And if I want to see how the transfer talk affects him because it affects everyone differently. Some people step up and they ball out of control. Some people, the pressure starts to eat at them, and I want to see how he handles it.
All right, so that's another one. A lot of 7:30s to help out the East Coast audience. LAG hosting Seattle Sounders. LAG at Dignity Health Sports Park is a +114. Your draws a +254. The Fighting Jordan Morrises are a +224 as a road dog heading to Los Angeles to take on LAG.
Hold on really quick. I will say, Jordan, it is a comeback draw. A comeback draw for Atlanta United. I say that Red Bulls go up early 2-0, and then Atlanta comes back for the draw. And they just run out of time for the winner.
All right. Also on the board, Revs in NYC. The Revs for shooter are a +121 at home. Draws a +238. NYC's a +2.25. Purple Team hosting Nashville SC. Purple Team is a +146. Nashville is a +188. They've got to have somebody other than Hani Mukhtar score. And your draw is a +231. Philadelphia hosting Sporting Kansas City. The Union are a -167. Sporting is a +430. 7:30. Toronto hosting Charlotte. You can listen to Jess and Willie P on WFNZ and on the Odyssey app as they are the road team. Toronto's a +104. Your draw is a +264. Charlotte is a +242. 8:30. Fire hosting DC United. Chicago's a -120. Draws a +273. DC United is a +316.
I'll take that. I want to see. I want to see if Chicago embarrasses Rooney after being named the coach for the All-Star game. There's a galactic storyline here that if he gets embarrassed, a couple of embarrassing defeats before the All-Star game, that it's just extra comedy. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one.
All right. FC Dallas hosting Portland Timbers in Frisco. FC Dallas a -156. Your draws a +300. Portland still has a lot of folks out.
Dallas.
They don't have everybody back. Yeah.
Dallas. Because Portland
Dallas
doesn't have the bodies.
Yeah.
And
Portland,
Dallas is good.
Yeah.
Both of these things do not bode well for Dallas, or for Portland, excuse me. There's going to come a time when Portland gets healthy And that's going to be really weird because it's kind of feel like it's going to be, hey, that nerdy kid who you shoved in the locker, yeah, he just did 2 cycles of HGH and he's coming back to say what's up.
And
2 cycles of HDH and some jiu-jitsu training. He's ready for war.
Yeah.
And
he's going to crash so hard after this, but until that happens, you're locked in here with him.
Yeah, Portland is a plus 415. Question to the floor to both of you. Minnesota United is a plus 334. Your draw is a plus 280. They are going to City Park in St. Louis. Does St. Louis at a minus 127 get win number 6, Nick Leafy?
No, I'm going to say, because I'm not trying to sound like Kale and Kyle over here, but I am going to say that I think that Minnesota, one thing they do really well is they will boot the ball to you and say, do something with it. And I don't think they're going to be in the business of passing backwards. I think that Inchy's going to be like, you get the ball, you boot the ball forward. We don't ask questions.
Get the ball, boot it forward. Don't ask any questions.
That's it. Yeah, he's going to go back to England 1964, and I don't think that bodes well for St. Louis. If St. Louis wins, it doesn't change my perspective of them at all, because these pressing teams, it's great to be a buzzsaw in the early season. Show me what you got come late season and in playoff time. We've seen what that is, just as we see with the Red Bulls. Regular season win streak over Atlanta ends abruptly in the playoffs. So get back at me.
All right. So Jarrett, do they have flight 600 take off from Lambert, or do they lose?
I mean, it depends. Do teams keep giving the ball to St. Louis in comedic ways?
3 matches in a row.
Because that's a really good way to keep surviving.
True.
If we're being honest here. So if they keep getting the ball handed to them, I'm inclined to say St. Louis. But actually, Minnesota is an interesting case this year, because I did not think they would be one of the last few undefeated teams, missing Reynoso, but Laud has given them what he needed to. Mm-hmm. Look, they got a draw last week. They're going to feel like they should have gotten the win, and they probably should have. They let the foot off the gas in Vancouver. They got the goal. They were holding strong, and they gave up a goal in the dying seconds. They're doing good work, pulling results right now, missing their talisman. It's damn good work. I don't know how long it holds up for. Saying both of these teams, I'm kind of like, this is fun. Nice work. How long can you do it for? But as long as you can, enjoy it.
Yep. 9:30 with the Prairie Dogs at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Colorado hosting LAFC. Colorado a plus 227. Your draws a plus 259. LAFC is a road favorite, the rare road favorite at a plus 112. 10:30, Jarrett's Quakes hosting Houston Dynamo. Your favorite at PayPal Park at a minus 123. Your draws a plus 277. Houston is north of plus 320. And stage 1 of the Canadian Classique, Vancouver, 10:30 hosting CF Montreal. Vancouver's a plus 118. Your draws a plus 250. And at CF Montreal, soon to be hopefully Impact, probably maybe never at this point. Patent pending trademark coming is a plus 220. So that is your rundown. There's a lot of matchups, Nick, this week where you're just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, but that's okay, right? I would rather have teams that start to figure themselves out. And if you're going to have bumps, if you are having some tough times, I would rather it happen at this point in the season. Anytime before the All-Star break. I do not want to start getting into injury situations after the All-Star break. I don't want to get into situations where we're still figuring ourselves out after the All-Star break. And the one reason I keep going back and saying that I prefer the press, I prefer the high press, is because of situations like St. Louis, where if you're trying to get a team off the ground and you're trying to be competitive right away, in my opinion, it is the best solution for the challenge that's in front of you. That being said, when you're running that, you can only go one speed because you can't press halfway. You can't just, shut yourself off and just.
You can't just press. You have to
Press. Because you don't have the personnel necessary to do the press and possess style that like Ajax and Barcelona and some of these other teams are able to execute. So when you're running a team at that speed for that long, inevitably you're going to start seeing injuries pop up. You're going to start seeing fatigue play a role. St. Louis, a brilliant story, awesome story. I want to see what they can do over the long run. It's going to be very interesting to see how that works. For Atlanta and Red Bulls, Atlanta needs to not fall victim to what has plagued them religiously with the Red Bulls, which is giving up goals in the first 15 to 20 minutes when you're getting like the full bout of hell. Now, if what Jason talked about earlier is what happens and the Red Bulls don't come out of the gate at Mach 2, then you might be seeing something very different. But I just want to see how this works out for a lot of these pressing teams. This early in the season, you're getting a lot of success. Some teams like Olsen's Houston, I want to see what Olsen can do. Can he get out of playing YMCA ball and start trying to be a little more tactically diverse? I don't know. But this time of year, it's going to be ho-hum, and that's okay.
Other action going around here in the Southeast. Tormenta is a home match against Northern Colorado. They are a home dog, but it's within the margin of error. It's 10 juice boxes one way or the other. Tormenta is a plus 159. The Hailstorm from Northern Colorado are plus 149. Chattanooga is a big home favorite as Central Valley Fuego travels from one end of the world to the other. And Richmond Kickers are a home favorite at City Stadium, taking on Charlotte Independence at a plus 112.
I'll take both home teams in that situation. I'll take both home. You say Northern Colorado's playing Tormenta
in Statesboro? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't care. Like, well, you're doing that kind of travel and you're going to Statesboro, brother? No, I don't want that.
Because last time I checked, those direct flights from Colorado Springs to Statesboro, they don't exist. No,
you're having to connect in Atlanta almost certainly, and then you catch the secondary flight down to because they're not chartering, right? I wouldn't think they'd be chartering. No,
it's commercial, and you're getting into Savannah or you're getting into Atlanta and driving 4 hours. My guess is you're trying to find a way to get into Savannah, and then you're going the hour.
Right. So with that being said, I'm going to take Tormenta on that one. I will take Chattanooga as well. I just don't like at USL level cross country trips flying commercial. I just don't. You're talking about a much longer stay in an airport. You're talking about having to take cheaper flights, which means that you're connections and so forth. No, mentally, physically, that's an extraordinarily tough haul. Give me both home teams on that one.
NWSL, your favorites are Portland on the road at Kansas City. Major props to Ted Lasso for wearing the Kansas City Current t-shirt in episode number 3. Red Stars are a home favorite against Houston. Racing Louisville's a dog at home against Washington Spirit. Gotham is a home dog to OL Reign. San Diego Wave, a big favorite at home. No surprise considering they had 30,000 Snapdragon last time out against North Carolina Courage. And Orlando, the purple women's team, is a home favorite on Sunday afternoon as Angel City comes to pass. Nick, what's going on in Serie A this weekend?
I have no idea.
Good for you. Let's see. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. Chelsea won as much as £70 million for Mason Mount, despite him entering the final year of his deal. He's interested in joining Bayern Munich to be reunited with Thomas Tuchel. I haven't asked you about Tuchel and Bayern Munich yet. German champs are also close to completing a deal for Anthony Barry. Barry is not allowed at practice, or basically it's just like dogs stay at home until they figure out the contract. Declan Rice, not a target for Bayern. They did not hold a meeting with the representatives last week. Al Hilal is offering to make Lionel Messi the world's highest paid player. What do you think CR38 has to say about that? Beckham FC, hopeful of signing Busquets next season. Harry Kane remains Manchester United's top striker target. Mohamed Kudus from Ajax, Benfica's Gonzalo Ramos also there as options. United's hopes of signing Frankie de Jong could be boosted by Barcelona's pursuit of Ilkay Gundogan. Gundogan's agent has denied the Manchester City captain has made a decision on his future. Vincent Kompany, according to the three-letter paper, has emerged as the leading contender for the Spurs gig. Take the information at your own peril. West Ham likely to part company with David Moyes at the end of the year, regardless of whether the club avoids relegation or not. Leeds could turn to Patrick Vieira in the summer if Javi Gracia doesn't stay. Manchester City's Emerick Laporte is a target for PSG. Chelsea and Spurs are set to battle Nick to sign Bastoni this summer away from Inter Milan.
I will say the one thing I do know about Serie A this weekend is Napoli plays Milan, and that's going to be Serie A is pretty much a wrap. I mean, we all know if you've been paying any sort of attention at all to Serie A, Napoli is just off to the races. The big drama is going to be 3 and 4 for Champions League play, and how that shakes out. Milan's got a lot of injury issues. They've got a lot of player personnel issues. Can they maintain a top 4 spot? And how's that going to shake out? Inter's hitting a bit of a rough streak. Can they shake loose from it? Juve has done an obscene climb out of their pit that they were in. However, with Paratici getting the global ban. Yes. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out for Juve's future in top flight. How Spurs left themselves tied to Paratici with everything else that was going on surrounding Juve, surrounding the investigations, and then played the ignorance card. No, we didn't know. I'm sorry. It is malpractice from Daniel Levy to not insulate his club from that. I'm sorry, Spurs fans. I feel sorry for you because your chairman is so inept, and that is, there's no manager who's going to fix this. There's no player signing that's going to fix this. As long as Daniel Levy's in charge, he is the Dan Snyder of the Premier League, and that's it. It's a wrap. Bundesliga, we're talking about Bayern Munich and Tuchel. They are playing a very dangerous game in Munich. You had a manager who was doing really well, but you're going to have occasional struggles if you have nothing but dominance year in, year out, and you rage quit anytime you hit at the slightest rough patch. Eventually you're going to run out of top tier managers to sign. You're going to run out of them. And just look at Serie A and look what happened when Juve went on its decade of dominance. Nothing good for the league came out of that. Nothing. Bayern, I'm not saying they should tank for the good of Bundesliga. I'm not saying that they should accept less in the world for the good of Bundesliga. But what I am saying is that sometimes better long-term success comes from letting managers ride through the occasional rough patch and grow and develop from it. But Bundesliga is not being helped at all by Bayern's issue, by the money separation that seems to be growing daily, by their ability, just like Juve, to poach the best players out of Bundesliga, for pennies on the dollar, and then flipping them when the time comes for significant gain, and or just sitting and stashing them on a bench. It's terrible for the global game. It's terrible for Bundesliga. It does not help them at all. Bayern fans, I await your hate mail, but I'm sorry. It's just stupid. It's so stupid to make this big push. We got Nagelsmann. We got this young, energetic coach, new ideas. Slightest of rough patch, he's out. That bum, he's terrible. And then you bring in Tuchel. And if you're Tuchel, how long are you going to be at Bayern for?
A year and a half.
Really? You're not Hansi Flick. You're not. I mean, you're going to be there. Yeah, maybe a year and a half before you have a couple of draws that don't work in your favor, and then you get fired. Yeah. It's the system's entirely unsustainable for him. Just make Super League happen. let them go and play, and let everyone else play in their own sandbox, because the separation's too stupid now. I'm sorry. It's too stupid.
Spurs may look to make the loan deal of Clement Lenglet permanent for around €14 million.
Won't help.
Arsenal's trying to sign Barcelona's Eric Garcia again in the summer after being rejected in the January window. Manchester City, PSG have made initial bids for Hajduk Split defender Luka Vuskovic, who's 16, but Hajduk Split no rush to agree to a deal. Brighton's 18-year-old striker Evan Ferguson wants to continue his development at Brighton. That comes from the three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Several Premier League teams interested in Barcelona's Andreas Christensen. Ansu Fati wants to stay at Barcelona. David De Gea says he's still happy at Manchester United. Leeds and Rodrigo Moreno could leave the club this summer if they're relegated. And a couple of notes, Nick, also in Serie A to wrap up. Olivier Giroud is set to sign a new deal with AC Milan that'll run through 24.
He should, but Milan's essentially trying to buy time for the striker position. Anything they can do to allow the Primavera to produce a couple of products that should be really stupid good. They're trying to buy time on that, and so they will ride the Giroud and Ibrahimovic train until their legs literally fall off. I don't like that they're doing this, but I think that I understand why. I'll put it that way. I disagree with the methodology, but I understand why.
And Zlatan was injured once again during international duty this past week, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. AC Milan have been offered Naby Keita ahead of his exit from Liverpool when his contract expires. That comes from our friends at Calcio Mercato. And Jose Mourinho has told Roma he wants to honor his contract, which runs until 2024. There had been rumors that he'd leave the club amid interest from PSG. That comes from Corriere dello Sport.
He essentially is allowed to do anything he wants at Roma. The fan base likes him. They like the fact that he's willing to fight back against officials, that he's willing to fight back against the league apparatus. So that sometimes the fight is more important than the win in Italy, and especially for teams like Roma. Somebody who's willing to put a thumb in the eye of the authority figures, they have no problem with. So, yeah, and again, you can leave and go to PSG for way more money, but at the stage of his career that he's in, do you want that headache of dealing with all of that mess in Paris? I don't think you do.
U20 World Cup, remember, they are trying to, looks like Argentina might be the host for the U20. Argentina was eliminated from U20 contention, and now they become last-minute hosts for the U20 World Cup. So if you're not there, if you ain't playing in it, make sure you can host it. So the U20 World Cup goes from Indonesia to Argentina. So we'll keep an eye on that. As
every scout in MLS should be there.
No doubt.
Every scout should be there.
No doubt. It is a doubleheader weekend. Atlanta United Red Bulls on Saturday night, and Red Bulls 2, Atlanta United 2 on Sunday night. So once again, broadcast plans 929, the game on the SDH app for Saturday and Sunday, respectively. Nick, send us home.
Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in as we tried to resurrect SOT during daylight hours there for a little bit.
SOT.
That's right. Darn it. And look, everybody, spring break's coming up. Don't do anything stupid. If you're a kid out there listening to this, yes, I'm an old man with no hair on my head, but you should take that as a sign that I have survived just about every damn thing that's been thrown at me. There's no reason to risk your life over anything in Panama City, dear friends. Don't do it. It's not worth it. And just trust me. The hotels, you don't want to stay in those things, man. My God, they're death traps, disease traps. Just stay away from it. Until next time, everybody, mucha euro, y'all.
What he said, play it safe, everybody. It's the end of the show. We'll see you over the weekend, and that means I get to do this.